Hey guys, my name is Black Eye, a competitive SMITE player that mains the ADC role. I have been in and out of Grandmasters multiple times this split and have recently competed in the SMITE Console Series tournament. I was also recently in an argument with my friends about a crit build versus a penetration build, and I decided to end the debate once and for all and go into jungle practice. There I tested 5 builds that I commonly see in ranked and casual games, and just calculated DPS based on if a character was tanky or squishy. I'm not going to show all the builds, I'm just going to talk about the 2 builds that sparked the most controversy. The first build involves 2 lifesteal items and 1 Deathbringer. This build is Ninja Boots, Devo's Gauntlets, Executioner, Deathbringer, Kin Size, and Aussie. The full penetration build is Ninja Boots, Devo's, Exy, Titan's Bane, Kin Size, and Aussie. I know when I say full penetration, I'm not going the Crusher or Brawlers or Jotuns. This is because auto attack hunters such as Rama and Jingwei do not benefit from the extra penetration or passive that they give. For example, with Brawlers and Crusher, the passive works based on if you hit abilities. Rama literally only can proc those passives off of his ult, and Jingwei can only proc it off her 1 and ult. I don't think this is worth it, so that is why I only have Titan's Bane in these builds. So after going into jungle practice and testing these builds, the build I had the Kukulkan go in jungle practice was the exact same build that their Kukulkan went in the SCS tournament. This build was Warrior Boots, Gladiator Shield, Mystical Mail, Pestilence, Hide of the Nemean Lion, and Stone of Gaia. I don't play solo lane, it is my worst role. I don't know if this build is correct, but people were criticizing my build in the SCS tournament, and this was the exact matchup that I had to play against, so that is why I am using this as the solo laners build in jungle practice. It is also worth noting that DPS will change based on what the solo laner builds, but the DPS calculator in the Excel spreadsheet works with any build, but just remember the DPS in the Excel spreadsheet is against this build. I made an Excel spreadsheet that shows damage per auto, DPS, the builds, and even how good your Phoenix Siege is, and I'm going to show that off now. Hey guys, so this is the Excel spreadsheet I made to calculate DPS on tanks and squishies when you're an auto attack hunter. Before I go any further, I'm just going to explain how the DPS calculator works. So basically, you type in your damage per auto when you don't crit, your damage per auto when you do crit, your attack speed, and your crit chance, and it pops out with the DPS. If you don't believe this calculator works, go and try it yourself in jungle practice. So for example, if my build is the first build I discussed previously, 2 lifesteal, 1 Deathbringer, then you do 187 damage when you don't crit, 346 damage when you do crit, your attack speed is 2.08, and your crit chance is 25%, so 0.25. So that is 471 damage per second against tanky characters. The way I have it set up is it also works with squishy characters. So for example, with the exact same build against a squishy character, you will be doing 273 damage per auto, and you will be doing 606 damage per auto when you crit. Attack speed is the same, crit chance is the same, boom, 741. Obviously, the DPS is going to vary dependent on what the tanky character's builds are and what the squishy's builds are and what the gods are themselves, because base defense is different for every single god. In this video, I used Jingwei and Kukulkan, and I used the builds that I described previously. So let's go over everything. So the first section, crit versus penetration versus tanks on auto attack hunters. So the highest DPS against tanky characters is a full penetration build with 2 lifesteal items. This build, as stated previously, is Ninja Boots, Devo's Gauntlets, Exy, Kin Size, Aussie, and Titan's Bane. So you'll be doing around 500 DPS to the tanky characters. The lowest was the 2 crit, 2 lifesteal, which stated previously is Ninja Boots, Devo's, Exy, Deathbringer, Aussie, and Poison Star. So now let's move on to squishies. The highest DPS is the triple crit build. That build was Ninja Boots, Devo's, Exy, Deathbringer, Poison Star, Wind Demon. The lowest DPS was the full penetration build at 576, and that build was Ninja Boots, Devo's, Exy, Kin Size, Aussie, and Titan's Bane. So this is the part that was most surprising, was the damage to towers and phoenixes. The general consensus is if you build penetration, you're going to be doing more damage to phoenixes. But if your penetration is only Titan's Bane, then this is just wrong due to the fact that the Titan's Bane passive does not work on phoenixes and towers. Now you might be saying, well, your full pen build is wrong because Crusher is really good on ADCs. I don't think Crusher is correct on auto attack gods such as Rama and Jingwei and Artemis. This is because you don't make any use of the Crusher's passive, whereas gods like Uller and Hachiman make a great use out of the Crusher's passive. So in my builds, the build that I like the most is surprisingly the best build for sieging phoenixes, which I thought was really funny because people were telling me that with the full pen build your phoenix siege is bad, but with my build that I consider the best, your phoenix siege is actually better. So now I'm going to try to debunk common arguments that I see against the crit build. The first one being, if they pop thorns while you're autoing them and you crit them, then you are going to kill yourself. I think this is, how do I put it lightly, retarded, because if they pop thorns, you shouldn't be autoing them regardless of what build you have. You will always take a significant amount of damage. Yes, if you build crit, then you will take more damage from thorns, but you're going to take the same amount of damage from thorns regardless of your build if you don't auto them. Obviously, if they pop thorns when you are already attacking them, you're probably going to hit at least 2 to 3 autos on their thorns. This is why I only have one crit item in my build. This is due to the fact that this minimizes the chance of hitting a crit on thorns while still doing a lot of DPS to squishies, because especially on Artemis and Jingwei, Artemis has that passive 15% crit chance, and Jingwei can get a 20% crit chance increase whenever she wants with her too. Also, some people say, well, your crit chance is 45% on Jingwei, so if you use your 2 and they pop thorns, you have a better chance at killing yourself. I think it's a misplay to proc your 2 on Jingwei if you don't know if their thorns are up or down. So what I do is I never ever proc my 2 on Jingwei if I don't know if their thorns are up or down, and I try to save it for when the jungler dives me or if a squishy dives me. The second argument, which I discussed briefly earlier, is the full pen build is wrong due to the fact that it doesn't have brawlers, Jotuns, or Crusher. I have to emphasize that this video is about auto attack based hunters such as Rama, Jingwei, Izanami, and Artemis. These gods don't benefit off of the Crusher and brawlers and Jotuns as much as other gods do, as much as ability hunters do. For example, if you build Brawler's Beatstick or the Crusher on Rama or Jingwei, they won't be able to make use of the passive at all. Rama will only be able to proc their passive off of his ultimate, which is stupid. Jingwei can only proc their passives off of her 1 and ultimate, which is also pretty dumb in my opinion. So that is why I believe these builds are the best. Another argument is you shouldn't go crit unless you're fully committing to it. Again, I think this is false, because simply having one Deathbringer in there is a 25% crit chance. So assuming you have a 2 attack speed, you're going to be hitting a crit every 2 seconds, theoretically anyways. And on gods such as Jingwei and Artemis, you're going to have a higher crit chance due to just their kit. Especially on Jingwei, where you can choose whether or not you want the higher crit chance, the one Deathbringer is super beneficial to her. On Artemis, it's a little bit more difficult because her crit chance is passive and you can't choose when you want the extra crit chance. But either way, I would still build Deathbringer on Artemis because I think the extra power, the extra crit chance, and the extra damage you get off of Deathbringer's passive is 100% worth it. Even on gods such as Rama or Izanami, I still think Deathbringer is worth it in a standard team composition, due to the fact that your DPS against squishies is so much higher than your DPS if you didn't have Deathbringer. Another argument I see, and this is the stupidest of them all, is that, well, if they notice you're going crit, they're going to change their build based on your build. This is fucking retarded, because you can do the exact same thing. For example, let's say that it's a standard game, their jungler and solo laners are on you, you're trying to defend yourself, they have 1 Thorns, 1 Hide of the Nemean Lion. Their support is like, oh, this guy has a crit item. Now I'm gonna sell my build and get Hide of the Nemean Lion. So what would go through my head is, okay, these guys are trying to counter me. I'm gonna sell my Deathbringer for a Titan's Bane. You also have the ability to change your build, and based on the builds I give, you only have to sell one item, which really isn't that much. So for example, if you are going Deathbringer and you need to sell it for a Titan's Bane, you can quite literally sell Deathbringer for 2,000 gold, and if you have 300 gold in hand, you can immediately buy Titan's Bane. When I'm playing Smite, I'm constantly looking at the other team's builds and debating if I should change something or go a different path when building my hunter. But yeah, this argument is fucking stupid. Another argument, which I explained earlier, is that Phoenix Siege is worse with the crit build than it is with the penetration build. Again, on auto attack hunters, this is strictly false. This is literally just not true. You do more damage to Phoenixes and towers with the crit build than you do with the penetration build that I give. Obviously, if you have the Crusher or Brawlers or Jotuns, then yes, your Phoenix Siege will be better, but I explained earlier why I don't think you should build these items. In conclusion, based on the data and personal experience, this build with Deathbringer is the best build in the game right now against a standard team composition where they have one Hide of the Nemean Lion and one Thorns. If they don't have Hide of the Nemean Lion or Thorns at all on their team, I believe the triple crit build is the best. The triple crit build is also the best if they don't have any tanky characters such as an assassin support and a mage solo laner. The penetration build that I give is the best build against a tankier team composition such as multiple Hides of the Nemean Lion, multiple tanky characters, and multiple Thorns. And I come to these conclusions based on the reasons I stated previously. If you would like to add to the discussion, please leave a comment. I am going to respond to all comments, but I am not going to respond to anybody that basically says a point that I disprove in the video. For example, if somebody comments, well, they can pop Thorns, and if you have the crit build, you're going to kill yourself. I'm not going to respond to that comment, and now that I've said this, there's probably going to be somebody commenting that, god damn it. But you get the general idea. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all get a cheese stuffed crust pizza for dinner, because those are fucking good. Also, thank you to Saute and Pudgy Fudge for helping me with this video.